What's going on, everybody? Mortem here, this time bringing you a sponsored video for Wartales. Now, this video is sponsored by Shiro Games, and Wartales itself launches today into Early Access, December 1st. Now, Wartales is a fun and kind of challenging open-world tactical RPG in which we are going to be leading a band of mercenaries, engaging in turn-based combat, and kind of helping shape the future of this world. The basic setup for that world is that about 100 years ago, the Adoran Empire basically fell apart due to a great plague. And in the wake of this event, banditry, thievery, all that type of stuff became rampant. And in order to stymie this kind of thing, a lot of mercenary groups would set out to collect bounties upon mercenaries, thieves, etc. So you play one of these groups, and you'll be leading that group throughout its early access period here, initially through 3 separate open world regions for us to explore. Now that said, the game is in early access as of today, so there will be more regions coming, but starting today there will be 3 immediately available regions. But when you actually jump into the game for the first time, you're going to click through a few options. These options are going to allow you to kind of customize your initial mercenary group's composition, if you will. So there are a few different unit types that you can pick from here: Ranger, Archer, Brute, Spearman, or Swordsman. And depending on your options, you'll have a few different potential starting compositions for your group. But that said, each and every one of these unit types is its own unique person. So even though you might have, say, a ranger, an archer, and some spearmen or something, each one of those will be a named person that will level up and earn experience, and you'll be able to customize that individual person's specialization and equipment and stuff as you would in any other similar RPG game. Now, you actually jump into the game proper and find your first town, which should just be shortly away from wherever you start the game at. Town is where we can do a variety of things, such as pick up our quests. These usually take the form of bounties and things, which you can find in the tavern. However, it's worth mentioning in regards to these quests that you don't necessarily have to play the good guy, because in addition to the bounty board, there are more under-the-table contracts usually also available at the inn that tend to be a bit on the opposite end of the spectrum as opposed to the bounties. So it's kind of a cutthroat, give me all the money style mercenary group, or you can actually collect proper bounties through the town government, so to speak. Also available usually in the tavern are other people that you can recruit to join your party. Now this will of course cost you resources, typically influence and gold, both of which are earned by completing bounties and generally helping out the area. And while you're in town, that's going to be a great time to buy and sell supplies. So while you're leading this mercenary group, you actually do need supplies to do things like repair your equipment, heal your troops, pay your mercenaries, because everyone in your group is owed a wage, which comes out of your gold. So you can visit the shops to get the raw materials you need to repair your armor, which we'll talk a bit more about here in a little bit. And you can also visit the apothecary to heal your troops if you took damage to your health, as well as potentially craft items, because available at the blacksmith as well as the apothecary and several other places, but this is a convenient way to talk about it, we can engage in a few different professions, which are basically crafting disciplines. So at the forge, we can of course practice being a blacksmith. When you engage in an appropriate workstation, that is to say a forge or the table at a apothecary's, or potentially a workstation in your own camp, because you can pitch your own camp out in the world, or if you find a fishing spot and engage with that, each one of these will give you the opportunity to teach one of your mercenaries a discipline or a crafting profession. This will allow that particular mercenary to craft gear for you. This is especially important because some of the best stuff that I could tell here came from crafting, especially blacksmithing. This will allow you to make things like actual gear, of course, fishing hooks for the fishing profession, for instance, so quite a bit of things you can do with this. And then, of course, the apothecary will be able to make healing items to keep you from having to pay for it. And typically speaking, all of these resources will be found out in the open world, so you'll come across ore, or you'll get cloth from defeating enemies or finding overturned caravans, that type of stuff. Then you can take that material, use it to craft, and save yourself a little bit of a headache in terms of buying things. But when you're all prepped and ready to go, you can set out to tackle quests and contracts. Now this is basically going to clear out bandits or other mercenary groups that are causing the local area some sort of problem. Or on the flip side, maybe you're going out to deal with the local government because they're causing mercenaries and bandits problems, however you want to look at it. Now this is inevitably going to lead you towards combat. Combat itself is a tactical turn-based system that consists primarily of a move and action every turn. So each individual character that you have will be able to move and then take an action. That said, there is also an armor system at play here. So depending on the rating of your armor, enemies will have to go through your armor bar before they hit your health, which is important for a couple reasons. For starters, obviously you don't want to die, so you want to have as much armor as possible, or at least use tactics so your weaker characters aren't getting hit and their armor broken through, because if your armor gets broken through, you then have to spend materials to repair your armor, which is overall pretty cheap, but still a mechanic you have to watch out for. And then we have our Valor points. So Valor points are used to utilize special abilities and things on the battlefield. You will gain a few of them every time your characters rest for the day, but performing well in combat can also earn you Valor points. And then again, you can spend these on your special abilities, which will grant your team buffs or just have more utility involved in using them. And then, provided combat goes well for you and you win these fights, you can of course turn in any associated bounties, and then of course gain experience and level ups. Now, this is some really cool stuff as well, actually. Now, for your character level ups, you'll be able to specialize your troops. So a brute, for instance, might become a vanguard or a smasher or a destroyer, and then as they level up, they'll get more abilities to use, and we'll also see an increase in their attributes. Now, their attributes you'll be able to determine a bit, so each individual unit type will get certain bonuses to their attributes when they level up, and you'll be able to pick one. So here with the brute, we can see the strength, we get 2 pluses, which means if I choose to increase that one, we'll get more of a benefit out of that than I would by increasing willpower or critical hit. But we can nonetheless make decisions about how we are building our people and our mercenaries, so winning combat encounters will of course see us growing stronger. Now the other side to this is that as we gain knowledge and complete bounties and things, we will earn knowledge points. Knowledge points will allow us to learn a variety of things. We can either use them to learn things for our crafting discipline or benefits to our mercenary groups as a whole. One that I personally picked up because I thought it was fun was cannibalism. So by picking up the cannibalism knowledge point, I was able to then eat the remains of my fallen enemies, thus kind of offsetting some of the food requirement that I have to use when I camp for the day. Because all of this combat and bounty collecting is hard work, and at the end of the day, you need to set camp somewhere. So every day or so, you'll run a fatigue meter down, at which point your characters will get very slow, suffer combat penalties and things, so occasionally you will need to rest. And this is done by bringing up your camp menu on the world map. And when you do that, you might want to keep an eye out for the danger level of the area, as you might potentially get attacked while trying to rest. And while you're in camp, you can, of course, make use of things like the crafting station or your tents, which you will be able to make more of. The camp is fairly customizable, depending on, the supplies and things you have at hand in order to build for your camp. But whenever you're ready, you can click on the campfire, make sure you have enough supplies to feed all your mercs, pay any wages you might owe to your mercs, and then finally, take a much-deserved rest. And with that, guys, we've gotten a fairly good look at the upcoming Wartales. Again, this is a game that is currently in early access that just launched today, December 1st. And regardless of your personal skill in strategy games like this, I think there is a ton to enjoy in this particular game, and a lot to enjoy in terms of the turn-based combat, the jobs and crafting system, as well as just a lot of cool characters to meet and recruit, all of which is going to enable you to shape the world by either helping or harming it. All while you explore the ruins of the Adoran Empire and kind of piece together the history of that empire and why it fell to the Great Plague. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, as well as click the link in the description below to bring you to the Steam page for Wartales, where you can check out more about it. But again, thank you so much for watching. May you wander in wisdom and have an amazing day.